I secured my position with my left leg. The grip of my pants was good. The fabric didn't slip, and the padding would spare me from any pain in my backside. The wind blew in my favor, pressing against my back and giving me the confidence I needed to free my arms. I grabbed the wheel strapped to my side and, without letting go of the belt, set it onto the stand's axle, right under the belly of the machine. I pulled hard to secure it against the engine's vibrations, though even that couldn't stop my teeth from chattering. I looked at my hand. Steady. No trembling. I wasn't afraid. Should I be? I'd pulled off stunts like this dozens of times. I knew my routine by heart. Was I thinking about my little girl? I couldn't. Those thoughts could only make me hesitate. And hesitation kills in this line of work. I reached into my pocket for the locking nut. Just as I was about to screw it in, a gust of wind ripped it from my fingers. I watched it fall until it disappeared into the landscape below. I cursed my clumsiness and prayed no one in the crowd would end up with that little gift from the sky. I repeated the maneuver, grateful for the habit of always carrying a spare nut. I bit my lip to steady myself, carefully cleaned the threads, and tried again. It turned smoothly and locked into place. From up there, I looked out at the spectators, thousands of them. The afternoon's work would be worth it. I straightened up and climbed along the landing gear until I reached the surface of the lower wing. I positioned myself next to the cockpit. Frank was piloting our Jenny biplane at a slight downward angle to make my job easier. The smell of gasoline was strong. I smiled at him, removed my goggles, and waved to the crowd enjoying the show. I didn't think anyone on the ground could see my eyes, but Frank would. I also waved in the distance to Tom, who was flying alongside us in the other plane with the new motion picture camera. Frank had insisted we bring that clunky thing, but Tom got distracted too often, and now he was making me nervous, flying way too close to us. Frank wanted to film the entire stunt to use it for publicity, or maybe even sell it to Hollywood. He was convinced this would finally bring us the success he craved, open the doors to fame, and free us from financial troubles once and for all.
When the train slowed down, I tossed my bundle of clothes out and jumped from the car. I wanted to avoid reaching the station, where the railway guards would have beaten me to a pulp. I don't know how long I'd slept off the drunkenness, but the impact with the ground was harsher than my hangover could handle. I got up without dignity, my face covered in a layer of dust and my mouth full of dirt. I spat, gathered up my bundle, adjusted my cap to shield my eyes from the sun, and started walking down the road toward the town. After walking a long stretch, the pain from my old wounds became unbearable. I stopped at the first cafe I found. As I walked in, the man behind the counter stopped reading his newspaper and looked at me with clear disapproval. Without saying a word, I sat down across from him.
"What'll you have?"
"A coffee."
"A coffee. Don't want anything else?"
"No, just the coffee." He placed a cup in front of me with a dark liquid whose smell reminded me of chicory. "I'm looking for work," I said without raising my eyes.
"You won't find any around here. Besides, this town's had enough of people like you."
As soon as he turned around, I pulled a flask from my jacket pocket and poured some of it into the cup until it was full. He didn't see me, but the hot steam from the coffee betrayed me with the smell.
"You can't drink alcohol here. Pay for the coffee and get out, before I kick you out myself."
The man pulled a baseball bat from under the counter. "Wait a second," I replied, setting the last coin I had left on the counter.
"That's not enough."
"I don't have any more money, but I can give you this too." I placed my medal for valor next to the coin.
"What the hell is that?"
"From the war in Europe. I'm surprised they didn't steal it from me in the asylum, but the medal's good."
"In the asylum? You think you're going to scare me with your stories?"
"Don't worry. The doctor said I was cured, though I think the state of California just stopped paying for my upkeep, so they let me go. Seems like money's running short everywhere." Just then, a policeman came into the place.
"Is there a problem?"
"No problem. The crazy hero was just leaving, weren't you?"
But once again, pride got the better of me. I didn't move from my seat. I drank the contents of the cup slowly. I had barely finished, and just as I was about to leave, I saw a club swing down toward my head. I don't remember much after that. As I lost consciousness, I thought I heard curses and felt someone dragging me out of the place.
The stands were packed, vibrant with so many people. It had been a long time since we'd managed to fill them like that. Interest in our acrobatics had waned, forcing us to invent ever more dangerous acts in the towns we visited. More danger meant more ticket sales. A deadly spiral we didn't know how to stop. That weekend, it seemed the new act had managed to capture people's attention. Now it was up to us to hold it until the end, though I sensed that, whatever happened, they would consider their $2 well spent for the show. Tom helped me secure the spare wheel with a strap slung across my shoulder. Despite the size of the tire, I could move with enough freedom. Near us, a camera on a tripod recorded every movement. I put on my goggles and climbed onto the lower wing of the airplane. The camera had been set up in the co-pilot's position, just in front of the pilot's cockpit, where Tom switched on the ignition. As the engine roared to life, a dark cloud enveloped us and made me cough. The smoke cleared as soon as we began rolling down the runway. An announcer shouted excitedly through a loudspeaker. Frank was trapped in the air. His plane had lost a wheel and he couldn't land. Only a desperate action could save him before he ran out of fuel. The audience stayed silent, anticipating the drama they might witness. They needed to believe the situation was suicidal to stay interested. Wing walking was a traditional act that no longer impressed them. They wanted more. I felt our biplane lift from the ground. We climbed until we met Frank, circling above the airfield. The movie camera had its lens fixed on me, like a bird of ill omen. The people below seemed to be waiting for a tragedy. The thought sent a shiver through my body, and I saw my baby daughter crying in her crib. Tom signaled me to begin the act. I clung to the taut wires strung between the wooden struts to keep the wind from hurling me into the void. I moved slowly toward the edge of the wing. Once there, using my arms and one leg, I managed to climb onto the upper wing. I crouched down, gripping the supports we had installed to keep from slipping, while I watched Frank approach in his plane from above. It was an uncomfortable position, but safe as long as there was no turbulence. When the biplane drew close enough, I stood to grab hold of its lower wing, but failed on the first attempt. From there, I couldn't hear the audience, but I imagined their horrified cries as they saw me nearly fall. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Tom giving me a thumbs up. The fool thought I had done it on purpose. On the second try, I managed to cling tightly to one of the crossed struts, and, bracing with a knee, I succeeded in passing on to the other plane. I crawled along the lower wing until I reached Frank. He signaled at the precise moment I was to drop down onto the landing gear, where I would have to fit the spare wheel. Once there, I sat for a moment to regain my strength before beginning the main task.
When Gladys climbed onto my plane, the most dangerous part was over. My role was the easiest, and that filled me with a certain guilt. After all, the act had been my idea. Yet, if our income didn't rise soon, we wouldn't even be able to pay for the airplane's fuel. I should have done the wheel change myself, but the audience wouldn't have been as impressed if a man had done it. It had to be a woman. I'm a good pilot. I knew we could change that wheel mid-flight. There was no other way out. If the business went under, what would we do? How would we feed our daughter? She was so fragile. Our little one fell sick often, and doctors were expensive. Convincing Gladys had been easy. I hardly had to insist, or at least, that's what I liked to believe. She loved performing, though ever since becoming a mother, I had wished to see her be more cautious. If she still had any doubts, they had offered her the same salary as mine. The film we were shooting had also been my idea. It would be excellent publicity once it reached the movie theaters, those places that were taking over everything now. It would help us keep ticket sales up throughout the year and, who knows, maybe open new doors for us. Gladys was already waving to the crowd and smiling at me with those eyes that had saved me when I returned from the war. I saw Tom descending to land so he could film our approach from the ground. We needed a spectacular shot. I made a wide turn, circling the runway to give him time to set everything up. Just as I finished, when I pushed the stick forward, a flock of birds crossed our path. I dodged them with a quick rudder movement, and the sun blinded me for an instant. It was only a few seconds. When I turned to check if Gladys was still in position, I couldn't see her. Panic seized me. I leaned out, looking down, and spotted her with one hand clinging to a strut. Her expression told me she couldn't hold on much longer. I no longer heard the engine or the crowd. There was only silence, and her eyes locked on mine. I wished with all my heart to be somewhere else. I begged for time to stop, and then something strange happened. There were no stands, no spectators beneath us, only a field of freshly cut hay and a large pile of straw right in front of the plane. I recognized the farm that appeared on the horizon, though it was impossible for it to be there. I throttled down to the minimum and pulled the stick, stopping our descent. I felt Gladys slip from the wing, and I didn't have the courage to look again. With the engine nearly dead, I landed in a rough glide. I don't know how the plane held together. I jumped to the ground and Tom appeared in front of me shouting,
"Where's Gladys? What happened?"
"I think she fell onto the hay," I replied, searching behind me. But there was no farm, no hay, only the airstrip, 2 policemen running toward me, and the crowd in the stands, silent, wondering if what they were seeing was part of the act.
"Where's Gladys?"
The sudden maneuver to avoid the birds had made me lose my balance. I felt my feet hanging in the air. The wind struck hard, tearing me away from the surface of the wing. By reflex, my left hand managed to grip one of the struts. I knew I only had a few moments before falling. I couldn't hold my weight with one hand. Not even the memory of my daughter would be enough. Beneath my feet, the ground took on ochre and golden tones, like in a fever dream. Desperation must have been affecting my vision. Below, there was no airfield. I couldn't see Tom with the camera or the audience. Instead, a haystack had appeared, beside a building that seemed familiar to me. The deep purr of the engine told me Frank had throttled down to the minimum, the plane nearly stalling, but I knew it was my only chance. I held my daughter in my thoughts as I let go. The airplane receded, growing smaller and smaller as I fell. The impact against the ground was brutal, painful, and I felt my soul slipping away with my last breath. Then everything faded into darkness. I woke when tiny hands caressed my cheeks. A child's voice was speaking to me. The silhouette, outlined against the sun, kept me from seeing her face. "Mom, wake up," the girl said. It couldn't be. My daughter was only a few months old. Impossible that she could be standing before me, speaking with such clarity. A powerful light flooded the landscape, revealing the details of my surroundings as I left the hayfield, guided by her hand. The warmth of her touch soothed the pain in my back. Another figure was approaching us along the path that circled the house. His unsteady steps revealed a man. His features came into focus before my eyes. He had a wound on his face, a gaunt look, but I recognized him the moment he greeted me. It was Frank. "Gladys, I finally found you," he said quietly. I looked around for the plane he should have been piloting, but the sky was clear. There wasn't a trace of our biplane. "I didn't know I was lost," I said, confused. "You're the one who seems disoriented. Come with us to the house. You need to wash up, eat something, and then you can tell us what happened to you."
Run the film through the projector again,
The policeman ordered Tom.
"Again? You've already watched it at least 10 times, Chief. You really think you're going to find something new?"
I had lost all sense of time since the accident. There I was, handcuffed to a chair, trying to make sense of everything that was happening. It was hard to focus. The cigarette smoke rose, warping the beams of light from the projection. The policeman held a cigarette between his fingers and pointed at the makeshift screen they had turned one of his office walls into.
"We have over 1,000 witnesses who swear they saw your friend's wife fall. I can see her myself in the film, but there's no body. Where the hell is she? If it weren't for the fact that I had 2 assistants at the fair, I'd think you'd hidden the corpse."
"She could still be alive. You have to keep looking for her." "Damn it, Frank. What happened up there?"
"I know where she fell," I said, even though I'd been silent for hours, overwhelmed by my thoughts. "Gladys is home, in a town in Oregon. Now I understand. She must have gone back to take care of our daughter. I'll give you the address. Look for her there."
Fantastic. Just what I needed. The lunatic friend come back from the afterlife. You know what? I've got more important things to do than waste my time with the 2 of you.
Opened the office door. I waited for him to remove my handcuffs, but that didn't happen. I stayed tied to the chair.
Until the investigation's over, the planes stay grounded, and your pilot friend stays in a cell. Got it?
We need to work. Our families depend on this.
The planes stay grounded, and I'm confiscating your film too. When we're done, you'll get everything back. Now get out of my office.
The officer closed the door. He returned to his desk, picked up the phone, and dialed a number while pointing his cigarette at me.
Hello, Doc. Sheriff here. I've got a new client for you. I don't know. I'm no doctor, but I think he's off his rocker. Both today. I'll take him to the hospital tomorrow morning. We'll let the patient do some thinking tonight in the cell.
You can't lock me up. I have to go back to Oregon, to my wife and daughter, I shouted, choking on the smoke that filled the office.
Is he dead? No, my uncle was way paler when he kicked the bucket. His face is all dirty. How can you tell if he's pale? Give him a kick and see if he moves. You do it, if you're so eager.
I'm not dead yet, I murmured with effort. The two boys were startled when they heard me and ran off before I could get to my feet. It was the second time that day I had pulled myself up from the ground with my face covered in dust, this time with a broken nose and a trickle of blood running down my temple. Aside from those kids, no one else seemed surprised to see me lying in the middle of the street. Strange. Perhaps that was how they welcomed all outsiders. In truth, I wasn't one, though after the past 3 years, I doubted anyone could recognize me. I dragged my feet toward the edge of town, where I hoped to find a farm fenced in by white rails. It had been my home, and now it was my destination. When it appeared behind some trees, I noticed the white paint was weathered with time, very different from how I remembered it. I walked along the fence until I stopped in front of a small grave, nearly hidden by the grass that had grown up around it. With my fingertips, I traced the inscription on the headstone. I fell to my knees and begged forgiveness for my absence. Then I heard the engine of a plane approaching. I looked up and saw it flying low, from the east in my direction. I saw the flock of birds cross its path, and I saw a figure drop from the wing, falling onto a pile of hay. I ran toward it, stumbled, and fell to the ground for the third time. Blood clouded my vision, but even so, I made out a woman and a girl walking to meet me. I did not deserve such mercy. It had all been my fault. Yet kneeling there, I felt a sense of relief as the plane passed overhead, and a warm wind enveloped me.